Hello. Welcome to Michelle Inspirations Hour. The guests that are on the show usually share their inspirational stories. What is your inspiration story? Here's a quote from our next guest about affirmations. The most powerful creative statement you can make is I am. What are you saying after I am? Are you saying positive or negative things about yourself? Set time aside and say positive things about yourself every day. I am confident. I am ready. I am receiving support, and I am worthy. Let me tell you a little bit about our next guest. The need to serve spirit was strong, and Shelley realized her connection with spirit was not to be ignored. Shelley could see, hear, and speak to spirit at a young age and is honored to serve spirit today, utilizing her gift to deliver messages from the other side. Shelley officially came out to the world as a medium in the Intuitive Goddess book, a compilation of 15 women sharing their stories and hero's journey. I am so excited to hear from Shelley Sanders. So let's go ahead and get her on. Hey, Shelley.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. It is so good to see your bright and cheery smile. And you definitely have one. And I'm really excited to hear about your inspirational story, especially as a child, because I know there are so many people who are intuitive. They are empaths and they're going, what in the world is going on? So can you kind of tell us about how it all started for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that it started, I was about 4 years old, and I could see loved ones on the other side that crossed over and that were no longer in the physical body. But for me, they were solid and in color, just like you. So I wasn't aware that they had actually crossed over.
Wow.
I thought I was just talking to a loved one that was in regular human form like me. And so because I come from a strong religious background that's Baptist, my family was afraid of what they couldn't see. So my grandfather went to my parents, and they were really young at the time. They were like 22 and 24. So he told them, if she doesn't stop talking to ghosts, and that's what he called them, I can't visit you anymore. So because they were so young and they really needed that family support, they just completely shut it down because they just wanted me to be normal and they didn't want anyone to treat me differently. So that was my first experience as far as dealing with spirit, and then like closing the door on something that was really natural to me. And then I guess you can also call it that initial wound of rejection, of being seen different and not being able to be my true self. So that actually led me into being a people pleaser at a very young age to get people to like me. And then I would like mimic and act like my cousins so that they would know that spirit was around me. I would try to be as normal as I could.
And I'm sure that was very difficult because I'm sure now, did spirit keep talking to you even though you were trying to ignore them? Or could you just know that they were there?
Well, I always knew that they were there. There was one lady in particular that kind of, I guess you can say, she kind of kicked the whole thing off because my grandmother understood what was happening, and people on her side of the family could actually see on the other side. And so she would actually let me talk to the lady while I was there. But once my mother found out, she told me if I didn't stop that I couldn't visit my grandmother anymore. So I had to make the choice. And so I had to choose between spirit and then my grandmother. So I chose the physical world because I knew at a young age that spirit couldn't help me or take care of me because they weren't physical. So that's how I ended up just really being more of a muggle, as they would say, if there's any Potter lovers, pretending to let go of that magical side. So I pretty much kept it quiet, and spirit pretty much stayed away until I turned 14.
Oh my goodness. And it's so interesting that your grandmother actually had the ability. So did she explain to you could she see them? She hear them? I mean, what was her ability like?
Well, the thing is that we didn't have that conversation because I was so young. But thinking back now, what I realized is that both of my parents also had the abilities, because there was also a spirit that was in our house. And I could sometimes, it would bother my mother at night, and I could hear her say, "Stop, leave me alone." And then, like, whenever my dad would, visit the family in Ohio, he would also have experiences there. And then he shared with me, when he was a young boy, that he could, like, hear spirit because they lived in a house that used to be a mortuary. And so there was a lot of activity there. So they both had the abilities, but they didn't really sit me down and talk to me to say it was okay because of my grandfather. Everything was just swept under the rug. We're going to pretend like we don't have this connection to the spirit world.
And do you think it is more of a generation thing that, our grandparents didn't want to talk about? Like you said, we would always sweep things under the rug because it was important for society to like us. Or do you think it had something to do with the religion sector? Or do you think it's both?
I think it's a combination of both, because a lot of times in the Bible, it's taught that, mediumship is bad or it's evil. And so a lot of people will blindly accept that, and then they're afraid of it. And then also the part of, we don't talk about things, we keep everything very hush hush, and we keep it very close to the chest. So only family knows about it. So it's a way that we protect ourselves and not let the outer world judge us or make us separate because we're different.
Right. But okay. So, and I always tell people this, and I really think it's really important that we know, that you probably experienced what you did, and you also grew up in the strict Baptist home for a reason. So, what do you think you learned from this?
Well, what I think that I learned is that we really, it's like through our intuition is how spirit communicates to it with us. And we're all born with intuition. And when we're fresh from the other side, we all have the connection where we can trust ourselves and trust our guidance. But over time, we're taught to go away from trusting ourselves and to believe in other people's opinions. And they may not necessarily be right or good for us. So I think often that we come out of balance because we don't go within and we don't get the guidance that spirit is delivering to us. So I think a lot of us go through unnecessary hardships because we might get some intuitive guidance, and then we'll go against it, and then we'll go with the majority, and then we'll find out that as we went to the majority, it didn't work out for us, and that we should have followed our own instincts. So I think that really helped me to really be on this crusade of helping people to find their true selves, to speak their truth. For years, my throat chakra was closed because my body was protecting me of, whenever we speak about spirit, it was perceived as danger. So like I would get acid reflux that would come from my stomach, and it would go to the base of my throat. And then my sinuses would go to the base of my throat. So whenever I would try to talk about spirit, it would kind of come out garbled, until I kind of worked through it and opened up my throat chakra. And now I'm able to talk about it and write about it and do reels about it and be on the show with you today to talk about it. Yes. Because it's really important and it's natural to all of us.
Absolutely. Now, I kind of want to explain. Do you mind, just in case the viewers, they may not understand what the throat chakra is? And then can you explain what you did to open it?
Yeah, so we all have chakras in our bodies. So all the way from the base, all the way up to the crown. So there's chakras within, and as they are closed, it makes it difficult for energy to come in and out. So if maybe someone said that children should be seen and not heard, and they would shut you down from speaking, or they would maybe tell you to be quiet or go someplace else, that could actually shut down your throat chakra and make you not feel safe to speak. So the one thing that I love about spirit is they will lead us to where we need to go. So they'll lead you to the next healer that can actually help. So I ended up working with a shaman that did some work on my throat chakra and began to open it up and kind of get it spinning in the right direction. So for anyone that maybe feel out of balance, whether it's a base chakra, where there's a lot of fear there, or maybe it's the heart chakra where it kind of closes down, where you don't want to let love or let people in, that's a sign that any resistance that we have, that one of your chakras might be closed, and that, you can allow spirit to lead you to the proper healer that can help you to open that up.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much. Gosh, you just are so, you understand what is going on in the metaphysical world. And I think that is so important to somebody who is just now getting spiritual awakening. I think you're such a great teacher. And I know that you offer those courses as well to help others, get through the spiritual awakening, because it's not an easy task.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And when spirit first came back to me, because at 4 years old, it was really natural to have a conversation with them. So when spirit finally came back, I was actually at the age of 40 when I accepted them back in, because they said, we're not going anywhere. Now's the time. So it's time for you to start working with us. At that time, it was difficult for me to find a spiritual teacher, because there wasn't a whole lot of people online where I can type in what's going on with me and have names pop up. So I think we're very fortunate now that the metaphysical world is so large, and a lot of people are out of the spiritual closet. There's a lot of teachers and mentors that can help people. And so as whoever you naturally find yourself aligned to, that's the person that you want to work with, that you have a natural energetic connection to.
Absolutely. And that's exactly, I love that advice, because I think a lot of people may follow a friend for a teacher, and the teacher may not resonate with you. But like you said, there's so many more teachers out there. So whenever you did decide at 40 to start working and tune in your gifts, was it as hard as you thought it would be? Or was it easier?
Well, I think it was a little bit harder, only because of the beliefs that were instilled in me. Because when I was 4, spirit would appear, talk to me, and then when she was done, she would disappear. So at that young age, my mother taught me how the real world works. And she said, no one disappears and disappears. You got to get in your car, you got to drive to someone's house, ring the doorbell, and then they let you in. So then at 40, when spirit would appear, it would scare me, because it was no longer normal. So I had to get used to how spirit works. Important thing is also, as we're communicating, we also have to set our own boundaries, and we have to let spirit know what's comfortable for us. So what I said to them was, I need you to announce yourself before you appear, because if I walk around the corner and bump into you, I'm going to scream, because I'm not expecting you. So we had to make our own arrangements, and then they would announce themselves, and I'm like, okay, I know you're here. All right, we're good.
Right. I love that. Boundaries are important. So do you also set a boundary, like if you're watching TV or if you're out with friends, do you tell them, okay, this is my time, not your time?
Yeah, absolutely, because they're so excited. Sometimes they would wake me up between 2 and 5 in the morning, because they would want to talk. And then sometimes I'll get up and I would write messages from them. But I would also have to let them know, it's like, okay, I have a regular job. So at that time I had a 9-to-5 job. So I would say, I could talk to you at 5 in the morning, but I need my sleep throughout the day, because I still have to work. I have to be able to function. I have to be able to go to the grocery store. So I would set certain times that I would communicate with them. And then I would need my own me time, because although my family are aware of it now and they're more open, they're still not 100% on board. So I have to have my family time where I'm not communicating with spirit. And then I have the spirit time where I'm working with clients or students. And so we set these nice boundaries up so that it works for me being physical, because I abide by time and they don't.
Right. Absolutely. And and I think being an empath, again, we got to set those boundaries and learn how to work with it and everything. So, so what do you tell people, if they don't know what their gifts are? Okay. Can you kind of explain what a psychic medium is? And then can you kind of explain how you knew what you were, what it was called, very intuitive, and how you
Yeah.
decided to tune into your gifts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to separate the two words just so that people can understand. So a psychic is someone that can connect with someone's soul to soul in order to get information. They can actually get information from the past, the present, or from the future. So it's really more of a soul to soul connection. A medium they're connected with loved ones on the other side that are no longer in physical body. So for me, sometimes I might feel someone's loved one just kind of step forward, and I know that they're here and they might be talking to me. They may show me images through my third eye, or I may hear them clairaudiently. So they're two different. So if we combine the psychic and the medium together, it just means that that person has both abilities. So not all psychics are mediums, but the mediums do have the psychic abilities. So I just kind of wanted to make that clarification for people. And then you can tell pretty much what you are based on if you're getting information from people before they even share it with you, you're getting some psychic information that's coming up. If you're feeling more of a connection, like someone is in the room with you, maybe they're watching you, maybe you can see them, then you know that you're connected with loved ones on the other side. Often we tend to be empaths who are people that are very sensitive to energy, which means that we can pick up on other people's energy in the room. So Michelle, something really important that everyone should know, just because we may feel something does not mean that it's our own. So it's very important that we use discernment and we question. So I was in a grocery store and I was shopping, and I went through and down one aisle, and I walked into an imprint where someone was standing there and they were feeling very sad and very depressed. And as I walked into that, I immediately felt that, and I'm like, this doesn't belong to me. Someone here was sad and depressed, and they just left this energy here. So we want to check in. Do you have a reason to feel angry? Do you have a reason to feel sad? Is something going on for you to feel depressed? If nothing is immediately happening in your life and you don't have a reason to feel that, you picked up on someone else's energy and you automatically assumed that it was yours. So it's important for us to let it go so we don't own it and carry it with us throughout the day.
I love it, because I know a lot of times, especially when you're getting into this business and you're kind of wondering about your gifts, that's the one thing that really comes up is feeling other people's feelings and knowing who your feelings are. And I know as a child, that is so difficult because a lot of times you don't know who you are, especially in middle school. When you're going, I don't know who I am, and I'm feeling all of these emotions. I mean, that's a difficult time for many people. Have you ever had anyone come to you and they're going, I don't want you to use cards. I'm scared of cards, and I'm talking about the Oracle cards or tarot cards or any, Lenormand, any of those cards. What do you think about using cards?
Well, you know what? I absolutely love the cards. Now, I'm going to say the funny thing that happens with me, Michelle, is I can give someone a psychic reading and they'll go, okay, now what does the card say? Because I find that people really love the cards because they love the pictures on the cards. They want to look at it. They want to figure it out. Whenever I would do in-person readings and I would flip the cards over, all the ladies would grab their cell phones and they would take pictures of it, and they're like comparing their cards to each other. So I find that a lot of people are really more and more into it, and that they're really accepting of the cards. Unless you have someone that's maybe of an older generation that's maybe afraid of it. It could be someone that's younger too. So if they really adapted their family's religious beliefs, and I don't knock that for anyone, because a lot of times our beliefs is who makes us up as an identity. So if it's something that you're totally 100% against, I usually don't attract those people or talk to those people. I usually get the ones that are curious, they're seekers, they're ready to break away from their family traditions, and they just want to know how it works.
Absolutely. And, and I think they're more open to receiving whatever they need to receive. And, I tell people too, I said, the cards I'm actually reading, it's coming from me. I'm the one that's activating it. in your spirit team. It's just not like we pull out cards and we're saying, let's see what happens. But I agree with you. There's so many beautiful cards out there that we can use, and it just adds so much more to the reading. Okay, so tell us. Oh yeah. How many decks do you have?
Probably over 20 decks.
Your favorite?
I have to say my favorite are the ancestors. So there's a African goddess, the ancestor cards, very powerful, love it. Yes. So, and it seems to be very popular whenever I do a live. That's when I get the most people, is when I'm reading cards from the ancestors.
Oh, and I've seen you use those. That's when I went, understand completely. It's so funny that we're drawn. I'll kind of explain it. It's almost like Harry Potter, is drawn to a certain wand. We're kind of drawn to certain cards. I mean, I love how that works. Okay, so tell us, because you are such an expert, okay, you do have a show, and it's called Medium Shelley Sanders Show, and it's on News for the Soul. Can you kind of talk about your show?
So we're on News for the Soul Radio. I'm on the first and third Saturday every month, 11 a.m. Pacific time. And a lot of times I will get some information from Spirit ahead of time as a topic. So I'll spend about the first 10 minutes of the show just giving some information where people might be stuck or what they're currently going through. And then we'll open up the phone lines, and I'll do psychic and mediumship readings. And then we also bring on guests. So you've been you were my first guest.
Yay!
On the show. So that was so much fun. And you were talking about your book. So it's just nice to bring on other psychics and mediums and intuitives, and just really open up and expand for people so that they can know that we exist and that we're out there and that we can help.
Absolutely. All right. You know what I'm going to talk about next is your book. Okay. And I actually love the name of it. Okay. Intuitive Goddess. Oh my gosh, I'm going to mess it up. Intuitive Goddess.
Yes.
and this is how you came out of the closet. And now I know that you said that there's a lot of women that have put their stories in there. Can you kind of summarize some of their stories or what it is all about?
Yeah, so it's really about a book of transformation. So I would say it's more like a person's hero's journey of like really going through the process of who they are and discovering who they are, and then really being able to come out on the other side. So my part was just sharing about my mediumship journey of accepting who I am, because what I've realized is that as I didn't accept the mediumship part, there was a part of myself that I was denying. And it wasn't until I started to heal and accept myself that I could actually come out and be all of me. So one of the things that I share in the book is that I realized that I was going through a midlife crisis when I was in my 40s, and not in the way of a younger man or fast cars, but in the way of not knowing, like, who am I? Like, I know who I pretended to be, but I didn't know who I really was. And so it was just that journey. And then I actually share that within the chapter in the book. And so there's a lot of ladies that they share their own journeys as far as relationships or maybe feeling depressed and how they got over that. Some women may have felt like they were suicidal and how they healed that, or they may have had some relationships where there was some infidelity and how they handled that. And just being your best true self and coming out on the other side stronger than when you started.
So where can people find your book?
So actually on the website, so mediumshelleysanders.com, there is a tab there and you can find the Intuitive Goddess there.
Okay. All right. And and did you say your website? What is and I'll put it in the description as well. But go ahead and tell us your website one more time.
Yeah, so the website is mediumshelleysanders.com.
Okay. Are you ready for your last question?
I am.
Okay. All right. I'm going to bring the wheel on so that we can see it. All right. You ready for the spin?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's spin.
Let's do it.
Reminds me of The Price is Right when I was a kid.
I know it kind of reminds you of that, doesn't it? Okay. All right. So who was your favorite teacher? And this can be, not only when you're younger, because people think, school age, it can be any type of teacher that really made a big difference in your life.
Well, I gotta say, my favorite teacher, she's also a mentor. Her name is Kobe Rebel, and she's in Los Angeles. And the reason why she's my favorite is that she saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. And instead of speaking to me from the place of that where I'm less than or fearful, where I'm holding myself back, she spoke to me from a place of seeing my success and would hold me to a higher standard. And that allowed me the space to step into it. And I really do feel like that's why I was able to teach classes and why I currently have the podcast show and why I wrote the chapter in the book. And then I'm actually currently writing a solo book. So I really feel that because of her nudging and not letting me back down into my fearful self, but really stand up in my powerful self, it's what helped me to be the person that I am today.
And she's good. I mean, she offers a lot of psychic and medium classes and also business classes as well, because she is such a business person. And I cannot think of her book. I need to look at it because I talk about her book a lot, where she's talking about how to start a spiritual business. And so, and I can see you two really getting along and getting that energy, matched up. So thank you so much for sharing that. And if anybody wants to research Colby Rebel, just put her name in and you'll find her. And she does a lot of online classes. And let's talk about your classes as well. Okay, so tell us what you teach.
Yeah, so I teach beginning and intermediate psychic and mediumship classes. So the one thing that I love about this is a lot of times people will come in and they've never done a reading before, and I teach them the basics, like how to set it up. And by the time that we're done working together over 4 weeks, the student knows how to do a reading from beginning to end. And so they're so excited because they actually have that connection. They're able to get details and information and just deliver a nice message.
And I can see you being such a fabulous teacher too, because you're just so patient and calm. So, okay. So is there anything that we did not talk about that you want to make sure that we bring up before we end the show?
I feel like it's just very thorough. I would just want to say again, it's really just trusting your own intuitive guidance, and however your spirit team is giving you the nudge, just know that whatever information is coming up for you, it's meant for you. It's not for your parents. It's not for your siblings. It's not for friends. So when we go to other people and say, do you think I should do this? We have to remember that that's not their calling. That's not their purpose. Your calling and your purpose is assigned to you. And when we go outside of it, we can miss it. One of my favorite motivational speakers is Les Brown, and he says that the graveyard is the richest place on earth because that's where dreams go to die, because people were too afraid to get outside of their comfort zone, to write the book, to develop the technology, the medicine, whatever it is that we need. We're not able to experience it because people are too afraid to move forward. So however spirit is nudging you, just move in that direction because it's ready to manifest.
Well, Shelley, thank you so much for sharing your story, your inspirational story. And I think a lot of people will find the courage that you found to carry on and show everybody your unique self. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Michelle, for having me on the show.
Thank you. And everybody, thank you. And I will see you next time. Bye. Okay.